Section 10.3, the quadratic formula. So in this section, we're going to solve quadratic equations, which are equations that look like ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Quadratic just means that the highest exponent is 2. And so we have solved these equations by factoring, but now we're going to solve using this formula called the quadratic formula. You just need to make sure that the equation you start off with is set equal to 0. And then we just input the values of a, b, and c into the formula. A is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is your constant term. So for the first example, I've worked this out already, so let's take a look at the first example. So we have a quadratic equation. It's set equal to 0, which is good. And then from here, what we want to do is just write out the values of a, b, and c. That way it just makes it easier for us to use the formula. Just pay attention to the signs. And so a is 2, b is 5, and c is -3. And then we just input our values into this formula here. So it says -5 plus or minus square root 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times -3, and make sure you divide the whole thing by 2 times 2. The next thing you want to do is we want to simplify inside the square root, and so we get 25 plus 24. Make sure you put a plus because we have two negatives. And then continuing in the square root, we have 25 plus 24, and that gives us square root of 49. And then also we have multiply 2 times 2, which gives us 4. Square root of 49 is a perfect square, which comes out to be 7. What you want to do from here is recognize that there are two answers. That's why we have the plus minus, and so you can separate your two answers. One of them is -5 plus 7 over 4, and then we recombine and we get 2 over 4, which reduces to 1/2. And then the second solution is -5 minus 7 over 4, which gives us -12 over 4, reduce, and you get -3. So the important thing here is that you make sure that when you get your solution that it's completely simplified and completely reduced. Let's take a look at the second example. So this one we're going to work out together. And so we want to follow the same steps. Make sure you have a 0 on one side, which we do. And so from here, we want to write out what a, b, and c are, and then just simplify from that point on. So let me show you how to do that. So if we look at this carefully, a is equal to 9, b is -6, c is -1. And we're going to input our information into the quadratic formula. So let's see what we get. We're going to write x equal to -6. Okay, why is it like that? Because remember, the original formula has a -b right here. So since my b value is negative as well, then it'll just be -6 plus or minus square root -6 squared minus 4 times 9 times 1, -1. So c is -1. Divide everything by 2 times 9. We're going to simplify inside the square root. We have +6 plus or minus square root 36. -6 times -6, +36, plus 36. Divide that by 18. 2 times 9. Continue simplifying. 6 plus or minus square root of 72 over 18. 72 is not a perfect square. However, we can simplify square root of 72, and so it is what you should do when you're solving. So we don't want to leave our answer like this. We want to actually reduce and simplify the square root and the fraction as much as possible. So square root of 72, we need to rewrite that so you have a perfect square. So 72 is 36 times 2. You're going to leave the 2 inside the radical. Take the square root of 36. Next, we would like to reduce and simplify. So remember, you can break this up into 2 answers and also 2 fractions. Let's separate these into 2 fractions first. Okay, so I could do that, and then we reduce each one, so that gives me 1/3 plus or minus square root of 2 over 3. You can leave your answer like this, or like I said, you can separate your 2 answers. One of them is 1/3 plus square root of 2 over 3, and the other answer is 1/3 minus square root of 2 over 3. So we have completely simplified and reduced our solutions.